Hey, and welcome back to ThrustCurve. Today we're going to talk about ISRO's future Mangalyaan 2 mission and how it might take a rover to Mars. So let's get started. After the tremendous success of the Mangalyaan 1 mission, which was India's first interplanetary mission which launched in 2013 and successfully started orbiting Mars in 2014, ISRO has always been looking forward for a way to top that mission with Mangalyaan 2. In a recorded interview which happened in October 2019 with the VSSC director, he said that they might consider including a lander as well as a rover with the next Mangalyaan 2 orbiter. This is very exciting news as something like this has never been done by ISRO. China recently attempted a very similar mission with Tianwen-1 which launched some time ago. Tianwen-1 has an orbiter, a lander and a rover all included into one single mission which has never been done before. ISRO might attempt something similar for Mangalyaan 2. So let's start speculating because that's what we can do now because there's no official information yet, but this is just my predictions. So back when ISRO was launching the Mangalyaan 1 orbiter, they only had one vehicle available, which was the PSLV. This was because the GSLV Mark II was kind of still in development and it had failed a launch, and also because it was very unreliable. But now ISRO has a very powerful and very reliable launch vehicle, the GSLV Mark III. The GSLV Mark III is capable of launching 8 turns into low Earth orbit and 4 turns into geostationary transfer orbit. It might even be able to launch 2 turns if some upgrades are made directly to Mars on a trans-Mars injection. This is by some calculations I made on this app you can see on the screen. Anyway, so by the time Mangalyaan 2 launches in 2024 or around that time, ISRO will have tested the GSLV Mark III to its limits and it will be very reliable and will be the vehicle of choice to launch Mangalyaan 2. It might even have humans launching on it. Watch my other video to find out. The other question that arises when we're talking about Mangalyaan 2 is how they'll get to Mars once they're in low Earth orbit. Well, ISRO could do one of two things once they're in orbit. They could either use the old Mangalyaan way of doing these apogee raising maneuvers, where they ignite the engine when they're at the lowest point or the perigee and then slowly increase their apogee height until they have enough energy to do a trans-Mars injection, or they could use the direct Mars ascent, which is what NASA did for the Curiosity rover and for the Perseverance rover, which is where they'll ignite the C-25 upper stage engine directly and give it enough energy to go to Mars. It actually all depends on the spacecraft mass, as if the vehicle is heavy, the GSLV upper stage could not have enough energy or delta V to push it directly to Mars. And if it's light, like if it's 1.5 tons or something, then they could use the direct ascent method. So now comes my favorite part, talking about the spacecraft itself. Well, there isn't any official information and images available of it, but because it's too early. But these are my speculations of what it might look like based on the Tianwen-1 spacecraft and early renders of the Mangalyaan 1 spacecraft. So here is the orbiter and the rover on top covered in the aeroshell, and here's the rover itself. Well, these are what it might look like, and so now let's talk about the entry, landing and descent algorithm. So once the Mangalyaan 2 spacecraft gets in around orbit on Mars, it'll have to go through the hardest part of landing on Mars, which is EDL, or as JPL likes to call it, the 7 minutes of terror. EDL stands for entry, descent and landing. Entry is when you dip into the Martian atmosphere and the drag decreases your speed and creates heat so that you can slow down and go into the next phase, which is descent. Descent is where parachutes or propulsive landing is used to decrease the speed even further for landing. Landing is when the spacecraft will either jettison the aeroshell and use airbags like they did with Spirit and Opportunity, or it'll use a sky crane or the lander itself to propulsively land softly on Mars. ISRO has to develop new technologies to help in all three phases. For example, for the entry phase, ISRO has to develop a new heat shield capable of entering Mars. It could derive it using the Gaganyaaan's already existing heat shield, as it's built for Earth re-entry, and since Mangalyaan's atmosphere is so much thinner than that of the Earth, it just has to decrease the amount of ablator, which is the material that gets burnt up So if you decrease the ablator, it can be able to survive Mars re-entry. The second part is the supersonic parachutes. ISRO can easily develop them using their parachute department, which works on Mangalyaan. So they have to be developed specially for Martian atmosphere and that speeds. The landing part is what they learned from Chandrayaan 3. Vikram lander, which is Vikram 2, will also land propulsively on the moon. I know it's quite different from that of Mars, but the landing technology and the radars used to land properly are kind of the same. So the ISRO can learn lessons from that and use it in Mangalyaan 2. This is very exciting because if it lands properly, then it'll deploy the rover and then we'll finally see an Indian rover on Mars. So I hope ISRO releases more information about this amazing Mangalyaan 2 mission soon, and I hope it also creates more PR awareness about their future missions. If you guys like this video, please give it a like, and if you guys want to see more of this content, please consider subscribing here. I would like to give a huge shout out to you guys for watching my videos and waiting for them, as I can only release them once a month. And also to Megh, who made animations in this video. He's part of ThrustCurve and he's an awesome guy. Anyways, if you guys have any suggestions, please give it in the comments below, and thanks for watching. And remember, space is for all of us.